Kimito is a pathetic excuse for a man without a life or a romantic partner. However, his story changes when he is kidnapped and taken to a school full of girls who want to study his masculinity for science, which allows him to be intimate with as many girls as he wants. Everything begins one day at school when the girl Kimito likes, named Eri, asks him to buy her some tea, so the young man leaves everything to do so. However, an army of muscular men suddenly pounces on him and he faints. When he comes to, he finds himself tied up while the muscular men give him a beating and take him in a vehicle. A few moments later, the men throw Kimito out of the car and a woman named Miyuki appears to welcome him. She explains that she sent for him to avoid making a scene and then releases him while Kimito expresses his disgust at being kidnapped. When he asks where he is, Miyuki explains that they are at a special school that takes in girls from wealthy families to teach them the traditions of the classic Japanese woman. When they enter, Miyuki explains that Kimito will enroll as a student and his parents have already settled his paperwork. Surprised, Kimito asks if it is a joke, but Miyuki ignores his doubt and moves forward. When they arrive at the office of the school president, Miyuki reveals that a complicated situation has been occurring for years. Suddenly, Reiko, the school president, appears and apologizes for kidnapping him. Unimpressed, Kimito asks why they did it, and Miyuki explains that after the girls graduate, the realities of the outside world confuse them, and they end up being a disaster. Because of this, the school has made the decision to select Kimito as the most common commoner sample. Confused, Kimito asks what that means, and Reiko explains that it is a way to get the girls used to commoners. Kimito then asks why they chose him, and Miyuki points out that his preference for rock-hard biceps and pectorals makes him the right choice. Surprised, Kimito asks her who she is talking about, and Miyuki reminds him that he always hangs out with boys. After Kimito denies this, Miyuki says that he will have to live the rest of his life isolated, and they would cut off his manhood if he plans to stay at the school. To save himself, Kimito screams and says he loves muscles. Shortly after, Kimito introduces himself to the first-year class when a girl named Aika suddenly pulls him out of the building and tries to kiss him. Surprised, Kimito pushes her away and asks her why she is doing it. Then she says she heard a rumor that kissing a commoner could make her wishes come true. Kimito criticizes her for being so foolish as to believe this when other girls appear to interrupt them. Suddenly, Aika flees the place, so the girls explain that she never talks to anyone else at school. Afterward, Miyuki takes Kimito to his dormitory and urges him to enjoy his stay in his small room. While observing the place, Kimito sees his art collection and casually, Miyuki warns him about the consequences of taking an interest in the girls. Suddenly, Kimito knocks down his artworks while lamenting his loss to pretend. Upon seeing this, Miyuki asks if his fetish for muscles is a lie. Suddenly, Kimito acts like a crazy person and cheers for all the muscular men on Earth. While he does this, Miyuki announces that she has been assigned to be his maid, but adds that she will do nothing for him. When she leaves, Aika suddenly bursts in while accusing Kimito of cheating her since she performed the stunts repeatedly but did not get her wish. Kimito then says he never expected her to be so dense, but when she tries to attack him, she sees his bookshelf and asks what books those are. Quickly, Kimito says they are trapped, which makes Aika excited. At that moment, she says she would like to learn how to be a commoner and reveals her desire to become the most popular girl in the class. Surprised, Kimito tells her that she does not have to try too hard to be the most popular girl. Hearing this, Aika reveals her fear of not pleasing anyone and her desire to be friends with the other girls. Not knowing what to say to her, Kimito picks up his game and explains to her how to use it. When he does this, Aika gets scared and asks Kimito to teach her how to be a commoner and announces that she is going to create a commoner club where both will be the only members. The next day, Kimito wakes up and finds Miyuki staring at him, saying she wished he had never woken up. Surprised, he gets up and asks if she needs anything, but Miyuki responds, saying she is just doing her job. Suddenly, she removes his clothes while calling him a cultured fool and a muscle lover. To cover his private area, Kimito crouches down and wonders what would happen if he does not continue with his performance. Shortly after, Kimito goes out and meets Miyuki, who then suggests he use the back door to avoid the female admirers. Upon opening the door, he runs into Aika, which ruins his chances of sneaking out. After Miyuki suggests another route, Aika asks him why he uses the back door like her, and adds that it could be an indication that she has potential to become popular like him. As they walk, Aika reminds him of their club activities and asks him why he is strangely quiet. Kimito then says he is not used to being escorted by maids. Hearing this, Aika takes out her notebook to write it down, and Kimito offers to tell her about commoners while she tells him about the school. However, Aika tells him to ask Reiko since she is the president. After this, Kimito says he would prefer to ask her. Surprised, Aika asks why anyone sane would choose her instead of Reiko, and Kimito explains that unlike her, Reiko fills the air with an aura of an elite girl, which makes him nervous. Suddenly, Aika shows him her palm angrily and tells him to get lost. However, while Kimito follows her, Reiko calls him and announces that she has been looking for him. Meanwhile, Aika puts some distance between them, and when Reiko greets her, she blushes. Reiko then asks Kimito if he could dedicate some time to her after school and invites him to to a welcome party while Aika listens. Then she gets angry and leaves the scene, which makes Reiko wonder if something is happening. Later that day in class, Reiko solves some questions, impressing the teacher and everyone except Aika. Shortly after, in a floral arrangement class, Reiko receives praise for her admirable finesse, while Aika transfers her anger and jealousy to her flowers. A few moments later, on the field, Reiko sets a new long jump record, amusing the other ladies who then congratulate her. However, when it is Aika's turn, she jumps and ends up showing everyone her undergarments, impressing only Kimito, who thinks she has skills. After Aika leaves, Kimito takes his jump and makes the ladies excited as always while Aika meditates nearby. A few moments later, when they arrive at the party venue, they check the menu and Reiko asks Kimito what he would like to eat. He then responds by saying he will eat Japanese food. Then Miyuki appears with a cup of ramen and apologizes for the delay, surprising Kimito, who then asks if it is a joke. In response, Miyuki explains that she has heard that cup ramen is a staple food for common people, but this upsets Kimito. After he rejects the food, Kimito orders her to put it away but is interrupted by Reiko, who perceives the aroma and asks if the cup of ramen is food. Surprised, Kimito asks her if she does not know anything about cup ramen, but Reiko says she has only heard rumors about it. Then Kimito explains that cup ramen is an instant version of ramen that simply requires hot water to cook. Surprised, the girls marvel at the possibility of this and ask Kimito a dozen questions about the cup of ramen. To answer their doubts, Kimito opens the cup of ramen and reveals that commoners eat it a lot. Then the ladies check it and analyze its content. When Kimito suggests they try it, Reiko announces that everyone will be able to taste the ramen in porcelain containers. Moments later, the dish was served and the ladies reacted over-exaggeratedly upon tasting it. Later, Kimito thanks Reiko for inviting him, and in response, she says she simply likes to organize parties. Not long after this, when the dance begins, Reiko asks him if he would like to dance, and Kimito accepts. When they start dancing, Kimito is surprised that she has some moves. Suddenly, she loses her balance and the duo spins endlessly. However, Kimito catches her with style as they finish the dance. Upon returning to his dormitory, Aika blames Kimito for making her wait, but Kimito says she should have come to the party with him. Ignoring this, Aika announces that it is club time and asks what they will do first. While he hesitates, Aika checks his bookshelf and asks him what books are on it. In response, Kimito explains that they are manga. When Aika chooses one and opens it to read, her brain gets confused. Then she asks how to read it, and Kimito explains it to her. Absorbed, Aika occupies herself with the manga until she reads the entire shelf. Later that night, Aika asks Kimito why he did not tell her that all commoners have superpowers. Hearing this, Kimito wonders if there is anyone more naive, while Aika daydreams about becoming a superheroine. At that moment, Kimito decides to play along and give her a crash course on how to become one. After a while, Kimito takes a seat while Aika tests her new skills. Believing that she really froze time, Aika gets scared and shows her undergarments to Kimito. However, when she tries to kiss him, Kimito breaks character and receives a hit in the face for pretending. Later, after bathing, Aika comes out undressed and meets Kimito at the door. Shocked, Kimito takes it all in and gets scared when he realizes what could happen. After he flees the scene, Aika thinks that she will simply ask him to finish what they have started. The next day at school, Kimito hopes that Aika forgets what happened, but since they were paired with her for a discussion, she continues to lead their conversation in the wrong direction, surprising Kimito. Sometime later in Kimito's dormitory, he wakes up and sees Miyuki looking at him poorly. When she asks him if he has gotten used to life at school, Kimito says he cannot because everything happened very fast. Suddenly, Kimito receives a text message from his mother about some hot springs. Confused, Kimito asks what that means, and Miyuki explains that his parents gave their consent in exchange for a house renovation and some hot springs. While Kimito gets scared by this, Miyuki suggests they relieve his family's worries, so she takes his phone and writes an email about having fun surrounded by muscles. Surprised, Kimito takes his phone from her and deletes the email. Then, Kimito sits in the courtyard to get some fresh air and responds to the email. At that moment, he sees Hakua doodling on a monument and on the ground. Then he approaches her to check if she is okay, but suddenly she removes her clothes. Surprised, Kimito looks at Hakua and discovers her not complying with the dress code. Then he quickly tries to cover her with his clothes, but hears some girls approaching the scene. Then he takes Hakua away, and moments later they arrive at his dormitory. After expressing his relief at not having been caught in such an unpleasant situation, he stares at Hakua, who then looks at him meekly. Seeing that she could catch a cold, Kimito helps her put on her clothes while she introduces herself. Kimito then reciprocates the gesture and asks her if it is the first time she has seen him. In response, Hakua says she spends most of her time in her laboratory. At that moment, her stomach makes a strange sound, and when Hakua says her blood sugar level is low, Kimito tells her it is okay to say she is hungry. After this, he serves her some instant ramen, and while she wonders what it is, Kimito explains that it is a food that common people eat. Then, when he tries to feed her, Hakua takes the bowl and begins to eat. After emptying the bowl, Kimito suggests she rest, but Hakua lies down for a nap. When he tries to wake her up, she suddenly gets up like a zombie and resumes her doodling while undressing. Just as Kimito tries to prevent her from losing more clothes, Aika enters and finds Hakua undressed. While Kimito tries to prove his innocence, Aika finds Hakua's undergarment hanging from Kimito's hand and gets scared. A few minutes later, Kimito accompanies Hakua back to her laboratory where they meet her maid. After his narration, Sakamori thanks Kimito and announces that she has to take images of Hakua's doodles. When Kimito asks why, the maid explains that it is because since Einstein is trapped in Hakua's body, she actively contributes in different fields. While Kimito marvels at this, the maid adds that she will feed Hakua, but Kimito says he has already done so. Impressed by this, the maid makes a big fuss about it, making Kimito wonder if he has made a mistake. When he turns around to leave, Hakua holds him and asks him to stay, but Kimito says he can always visit her at any time. The next day, while Kimito walks with Reiko, she offers to help him with anything he needs for eternity, surprising Kimito. Suddenly, Karen appears and calls everyone's attention. When she approaches Kimito, he sees a sword at her waist and wonders if he is on her target list. Suddenly, an insect flies by Kimito's face and Karen draws her sword to eliminate it. When she realizes she failed, she steps back and bystanders comment on how terrifying she is. Thinking she is a demon, Karen introduces herself and decides to punish him. Immediately, Karen attacks Kimito, who flees for his life, but Karen launches an attack that Kimito barely dodges. Angry at having failed, Karen activates a special ability and creates a whirlwind that shreds the spectators' clothes and exposes their undergarments. Seeing this, Kimito turns around and wonders how she managed it, but Karen blames him for it. Suddenly, her clothes are also shredded, so Karen goes after him with her sword, but he dodges her attacks. At that moment, Kimito decides to face her, so he rushes towards her and pins her to the ground. When Karen opens her eyes, Kimito's gaze moves over her body, revealing her figure. Karen then asks how strong he is among commoners, and Kimito says he is at the lower end. Disappointed, Karen punishes herself for having lost to the weakest of commoners. But when Kimito says he is not as weak as she thinks, Karen gets on her knees and declares that she will recognize him as her master. After this, she promises to eliminate him once she becomes stronger than him and announces that he can use her as he wants until then. Afterward, in his dormitory, Aika reveals her plan to organize a party that will make her the most popular girl in the class, but Kimito does not share her enthusiasm. Then she asks him how her plan sounds, and Kimito says she will need many phones to carry it out. Minutes later, Hakua joins them and confirms that she has phone samples left in the laboratory. While Aika complains about Hakua's clingy nature, Karen joins them and Kimito asks why she appeared. In response, Karen says she is his until she is strong enough to eliminate him. Terrified, Kimito begs for his life, but Karen blames him for pushing his small manhood in her face. While this happens, Aika complains that the other girls interrupt her club time and runs out when she realizes how it sounds. At that moment, she finds a maid with a package at the door. Shortly after, she picks it up and upon opening the box, they find Hakua's phone samples. Then, Kimito suggests that Aika choose one, and after she does, they take photographs together. Some days later, Reiko and her friends approach Kimito to invite him to a tea party after school. When it slips out that the place is her room, Reiko panics and adds that there is no deep meaning in that. After this, while she says they can go deeper on another occasion, a friend intervenes and almost reveals her reason for inviting him. But Reiko stops her and asks if Kimito has plans for the later part of the day. Hearing this, Kimito says he is free, and Reiko tells him not to miss the party. At that moment, Reiko grabs his arm and reminds him that he has some plans with her after school. Then she takes him out of the class and asks him if he is ignoring his club and his plans just to visit Reiko. Surprised, Kimito says no. Then Aika tells him to finish with this and return quickly since they have to prepare for their plan. Then, Kimito returns to apologize to Reiko, while she pretends she is okay with that. Shortly after leaving class, Reiko's friends discuss what is happening between Kimito and Aika. However, Reiko explains that Kimito must be playing therapist with Aika since she is sad about the bad relationship they have with her. While looking for excuses to feel better, a friend points out that it seems Aika spends too much time in Kimito's room for a therapy session. Hearing this, Reiko gets jealous but maintains her composure. Meanwhile, in Kimito's dormitory while planning the party, Aika reveals that she would like to have common food at the party. Then Kimito suggests they opt for sweets since they are cheaper and can be obtained at convenience stores. Hearing this, Aika gets excited and decides what name to give the party. Suddenly, she takes out a costume and while looking at it, she wonders if the ladies will be happy. Simultaneously, Reiko's friends talk about the drama in class and about how Kimito and Aika could be a couple. When a friend adds that they could have had intimacy during one of the therapy sessions, Reiko gets furious and asks them to shut up. Startled, her friends look at her with fear in their eyes, so Reiko gets yee up and hastily leaves the meeting. At that moment, Kimito appears and asks what happened when he sees the friend sobbing. Then he realizes that something must have happened with Reiko, so he heads to her room. When he asks what happened through the door, Reiko says through tears that she cannot tell him. After this, Kimito asks if the fight involves him, and Reiko suddenly opens the door to say no. However, when she catches Kimito looking at her figure, both turn away. Afterward, they sit in her dormitory and Reiko narrates how she screamed at her friend. When she asks him what what she could do to fix this, Kimito gets up and tells her to leave it in his hands. Shortly after, Kimito returns to his dormitory and is surprised to find Aika waiting for him. Then she asks how Reiko is. Surprised, he asks her how she knows, and Aika erroneously reveals that she followed him. When Kimito tells her that Reiko is depressed, Aika asks him if he has any idea to fix that. Then Kimito explains that they could take advantage of an event where the unusual tension could be resolved. While Kimito wonders what they could do so that everyone reconciles, Aika says there is something they could do and points to the things they gathered for her party. When Kimito reminds her that it is for her party, Aika says there is no other way and insists that she is okay with it. Hearing this, Kimito congratulates her for being a good person, but Aika suddenly changes her attitude and explains that she is only sacrificing the party of her dreams because she would feel worse if the sadness in the class continued. When Kimito insists that she is a good person, Aika makes him realize that he is wrong regarding her. The next day at school, Kimito thanks the girls and announces that they are starting the party because he wants them to experience something that common girls usually do after school. Suddenly, Reiko appears dressed and acting like a fashionable girl. While her friends wonder if she is really the one, Reiko continues with her performance. Kimito then explains that he made Reiko dress like that to show the girls how a modern girl looks. Amused, the girls look at her hair, her eyelashes, and her lips, marveling at how attractive she looks. Reiko takes out a phone and asks them to look inside their desks. Upon checking their places, they find phones hidden there. After this, Reiko orders them to check their messages, and when they do, they find a message of apology sent by her. Then she apologizes to the whole class and to her friend for having said hostile things to her. In response, the friend blames herself for not being enough. To fix things, Reiko suggests they take a photo together and approaches her friend to take one. Afterward, Reiko sends the photo to the other phones to show the ladies what the devices can do and requests that they take photographs together. Afterward, Reiko thanks Kimito for planning a wonderful event just for her and expresses how happy it makes her feel. After a brief silence, Kimito reveals that the party was not his idea but Aika's, which surprises Reiko. When he explains that Aika planned the event to get along with her and the other girls but gave it up for her, Reiko cries and runs towards Aika's dormitory. Upon arriving there, Reiko catches her breath and tells Aika that she hates her. Surprised, Aika gets angry and says she should thank her. Suddenly, the duo enters into a nasty fight and tells each other how much they hate one another. Meanwhile, Kimito is stunned when he sees their legs clashing against each other. When he finally recovers, he asks them to stop fighting, but they leave him unconscious with a pillow. After Reiko leaves, Aika reveals that she does not want to get along with Reiko and that she no longer cares about playing or reading manga. Just as it slips out that she enjoys spending time with Kimito, Karen and Hakua arrive. Then Kimito asks if they came to hang out and Hakua affirms it. However, Karen says she cannot hang out with trash like them. While Kimito asks why she stopped in his room, Hakua hands him a request letter to join the club. Surprisingly, Reiko also appears with a letter requesting to join the club. While Kimito wonders why everyone wants to join, Aika objects to Reiko entering the club. However, Kimito says it is an honor to have her there. Angry, Aika says it is better that she makes tea parties and converses with the rest of the class. While they discuss, Hakua's undergarment falls on Kimito's head and they see her drawing. At that moment, Miyuki enters and finds the commotion in Kimito's room. Then she gets a pair of scissors to punish him in his noble zone. But suddenly, Kimito acts like a muscle lover, and Miyuki apologizes for doubting his personality. Some time later, Kimito wakes up and finds Hakua sleeping in his bed. Surprised, he wakes her up and asks her if she is visiting. When she says yes, he helps her with her clothes and hears how her stomach growls. Then he checks his refrigerator and only finds potatoes. Then he asks Hakua if she would like to eat some potato cakes and she says she is okay with whatever he does. At that moment, Kimito starts cooking the dish and Hakua offers to help him. After a while, Hakua's undergarment falls on Kimito and he finds her drawing again, so he hastily covers her exposed private area. After serving the food, Hakua takes a bite and says it is delicious. Shortly after, Hakua reads a riddle from her book and provides the answer. Kimito then says she must have learned that in kindergarten, but Hakua says she has no memories of that time. When Kimito asks her what she did for fun when she was young, Hakua says she made robots and drew circuit diagrams. Hearing this, Kimito tells Hakua some riddles, but as she could not solve them, she goes out and hits Kimito. Later in Hakua's laboratory, Kimito and Hakua meet her maid, who is surprised to see them together. However, Hakua says she would like to stay with Kimito, but he crouches down and tells her she can visit him the next day. When the door to her room opens, Kimito sees a plush toy of himself on Hakua's bed, but she quickly pushes it and closes the door. Meanwhile, in a meeting with Karen and Aika, Reiko points out that Hakua seems to spend a lot of time with Kimito. In response, Karen says Kimito deserves to be imprisoned, while Reiko asks Aika's opinion on the matter. Suddenly, Aika complains that Hakua is too dependent on Kimito and says she took off her clothes to get his attention. Additionally, Reiko says it is depressing to see Kimito feed Hakua. Meanwhile, Karen says she feels very envious and that she would like to finish off Kimito, so she suggests they separate Hakua from Kimito before he starts taking advantage of her. A few moments later in Kimito's room, the ladies wait for Hakua's arrival, and when she arrives, she scans scans the room for Kimito, but Reiko says he is doing an errand and will not return for the day. Before Hakua turns around to go back, Karen stops her, while Aika suggests she spend some time with them. While Hakua reads some manga, the ladies sit and stare at her as if she were a rare species. At that moment, Reiko offers to prepare some tea, and when she serves it, Hakua pretends they do not exist. Karen then says she only eats when someone else feeds her, so she tries to feed Hakua but is ignored. Afterward, they get the maid to bring her the scheduled food, and when it is served, Hakua eats while they observe with wonder. Suddenly, Hakua disconnects and begins to draw, but the women try to stop her so she does not lose her clothes, and they fail. After this, while Hakua takes a nap, the girls wonder how Kimito deals with Hakua's drama, but Aika says it is easier to handle it with him. During the discussion, the maid appears and announces that she will take Hakua home. Upon waking Hakua, the maid points out that Kimito is not around, and Hakua says they are just friends. Upon leaving, Hakua gives them one of Kimito's riddles, but when Aika answers it, she is surprised. The next day in Kimito's room, he plays a video game in which he talks to Marika, an animated girl with Aries voice. When she accuses Kimito of abandoning her for more than a month, he apologizes, but Marika says she believes he is no longer interested in her. Then she asks him how he feels about her, and while he confesses his affection, Aika enters and asks him what he is doing, scaring Kimito. Then he tells her about the game, and when Aika tells him how strange it is, he explains that he is only playing because his friend is the voice actress of the character. Hearing this, Aika asks to hear her voice, so Kimito hands her the game, and after they chat for a while, Aika becomes fond of it. After this, Kimito is summoned to the office of the president, so he heads there, leaving Aika to bond with her new virtual friend. At that moment, Reiko enters looking for Kimito but asks Aika what she is doing. In response, Aika says she is making a friend and tells her to leave since Kimito is not around. However, Reiko says the room is large enough for the two and states that there is a book she wants to read. After a while Aika wonders why Reiko has not left yet, Reiko asks why all the magazines on the shelf have women in them and wonders if they are aimed at gentlemen. Irritated, Aika tells her to take whatever she wants and go read it in her room. Then Reiko asks why Aika is reading in Kimito's room and tells her to get off his bed. To make her shut up and leave, Aika gets off the bed, but Reiko gets scared and says she can see her undergarments. Suddenly, Aika calls her a cultured fool and decides to leave the room. Excited, Reiko says it is a great idea since she will have some time alone with Kimito when he returns. Hearing this, Aika deviates towards the shelf and chooses another manga with girls on its cover. When Reiko wonders why Kimito's collection is dedicated exclusively to women, Aika responds that it is because he is a cultured monster, but Reiko disagrees and states that he is a gentleman. Shortly after this, Aika checks Kimito's refrigerator for some snacks, but finds a bottle of dark drink. While both wonder what it is, Reiko assumes it must be commoner's juice, so they decide to have some. Upon finishing drinking, both spat the drink over one another because of how strange the taste was. After blaming each other for ruining their dresses, Aika takes off her dress saying she will feel sticky if she keeps it on. Seeing this, Reiko does the same, exposing her figure. When she sees Aika looking at them, Reiko wonders if something is wrong, but Aika says it is nothing. Reiko then takes Aika's dress, but she picks it up and tries to pull away. Suddenly, she steps on the manga, so both slip and fall. After this, Reiko's chest smothers Aika while she struggles for some air. When she finally escapes being crushed by the large figure, Reiko apologizes and asks if she is hurt. Annoyed, Aika tells Reiko to remove her massive distractions from her face, but Reiko does not tolerate any insults towards her body, so she tries to crush Aika with them. While this happens, Kimito enters the room and pales upon seeing them. When he sees the manga on the floor, Kimito hastily leaves the room while the girls scream, saying that he misunderstood. Later in Miyuki's office, she informs Kimito that they will go on an excursion the next day. Surprised, Kimito asks what kind of place it is, and Miyuki explains that the school had a theme park built so that the ladies could experience commoner culture firsthand. When they announce that it is called Showman Land, Kimito gets scared and wonders what that means. Then, Miyuki says they would like him to take care of the girls in Showman Land. Surprised, Kimito wonders why him and Miyuki points out that the school has been cheerful since he arrived and he has been a positive influence on the students. Hearing this, the maid points out that it is only because he loves driving with manual shifts, but when Kimito tries to discredit it, she reminds him of the consequences of being heterosexual. Later, when the bus arrives at Showman Land, Aika tries to memorize some things while the other girls crave a change of air. When they get off the bus, Kimito motivates Aika, who seems to be paralyzed, and tells her it is time to show what she has been learning in the Commoner Club. When they arrive at Showman Land, Miyuki explains that the town was modeled after a modest block in front of a train station. Excited, the girls enter into a frenzy and some faint. After this, they explore the city and marvel at seeing a real pedestrian crossing. Meanwhile, when Kimito asks Aika if she is having fun, a bunch of tissues fall and almost bury him. Annoyed, Kimito asks why that happened, and Miyuki explains calmly that it is a distribution of tissues that takes place outside train stations. In addition to this, she explains to the girls that tissues do not cause any harm no matter how many times they use them. Shortly Shortly after, they visit an inexpensive fast food restaurant where Miyuki explains how the service works, amusing the ladies. After this, the ladies decide to wait until the food is ready, but when Miyuki informs them that the food will be ready in minutes, the ladies get scared and wonder how that is possible. At that moment, Miyuki asks them to make their orders, but the girls remain staring at her. Meanwhile, Kimito reminds Aika how he taught her to place an order in the Commoner Club, so he tells her to take a step forward and make him feel proud. However, Aika cowers. At that moment, Reiko raises her hand and approaches the counter to place an order. When the assistants show her the menu, Reiko freezes upon seeing the large number of options. Simultaneously, Kimito encourages Aika to seize the moment, but when she does not do it, he takes a step forward and places an order for the most popular set in Reiko's name. After this, Reiko thanks Kimito for coming to rescue her. Later, when all the girls sit down to eat, Kimito wonders where Aika is and sees her eating alone at a different table. Then he ignores her, and when he takes a bite of his burger, he is immediately transported to paradise. While the girls wonder if he bit his tongue, Kimito reacts over-exaggeratedly and makes a fuss about the burger being better than what he is used to. Meanwhile, at school, when Hakua heads to Kimito's dormitory, her maid catches up with her and informs her that he left with the other ladies on a trip to Showman Land. Back in Showman Land, the ladies visit a game center and marvel at seeing different machines. While Reiko and her friends go out to hunt for plushies, Kimito observes Aika play a different game, but when she gets tired, she sits alone. Then he approaches her and tells her she will soon receive the attention she desires. At that moment, some twins approach Kimito and ask him to show them how to play with the claw machine. Annoyed, Aika tells him to go and goes out to find something to drink. Shortly after this, Kimito gets the twins some plushies, and while they thank him, another girl appears. Then he decides to show her how it is done. However, when he touches her, she plays a different game and emits happy sounds while Kimito helps her get the plushie. Kimito then decides to return with Aika, but does not find her at the dancing game. At that moment, other girls join him and ask him to teach them how the game is played. Then, Kimito continues and dances to the amazement of the girls. Then he asks them to try it, but after a few movements, the girls collide with each other. However, while the girls wonder why Kimito's activities seem impossible to carry out, suddenly Aika appears and plays the game perfectly while telling them to focus on the movements shown on the screen. At that moment, one of the girls joins her dance and also learns the game. While her audience observes captivated by her performance, Aika congratulates the other girl but immediately covers her mouth. In front of Aika, the other girl praises her for being good at the game. While Aika feels uncomfortable, the other ladies ask her to also teach them, so Aika becomes the center of attention. Afterward, Aika shows her commoner skills by performing a complex order of ice cream and chocolates, amusing her fans. One of the girls then asks if commoners really use complicated incantations to order coffee, but Aika tells them to relax and says it is an advanced level order. Meanwhile, Reiko observes how Aika steals all the attention she is used to receiving and feels jealous. Shortly after, one of the girls asks Aika how the coffee should be taken. Eager to demonstrate her knowledge, Aika drinks from the cup and burns herself while Reiko and the other girls look at her. After she recovers, Kimito asks if the girls send text messages using their phones, but the girls say they only do that in their dormitories to keep it hidden from the others. In front of Aika, Kimito asks her if she sends text messages with her phone, but she says no, so the girls offer to send her a message. Shortly after this, Aika becomes the celebrity of the class while Reiko sulks. The next day when they visit a clothing store, Aika shows the other ladies her ripped jeans and explains that it is a type of fashion. Impressed, the ladies comment that Aika is as good as a commoner, while Reiko and Kimito listen to the conversation. Seeing how well Aika is connecting, Kimito thinks she will be fine and heads to another section where he finds Karen looking at some clothes. Looking at herself in the mirror, Karen gets restless and does her strange routine. However, when Kimito comments that she does not have to make it so difficult, Karen says she is not interested in ridiculous things like the outfit and reacts over-exaggeratedly to being in the store in the first place. In response, Kimito says it is okay for her to try it on, but Karen suddenly draws her sword for the fight. Kimito then reminds her how badly the last encounter ended for her and threatens to make her disappear. While Karen gets restless hearing this, Kimito thinks he could force her to do what he pleases by making an offer, so he orders her to change her clothes. Immediately, Karen undresses and reluctantly tells him to try her until he is satisfied. Ignoring this, Kimito chooses some outfits and orders her to put them on. At that moment, Karen jumps into the changing room, and after a while, Kimito orders her to open the curtains. When she does, Kimito praises her appearance and analyzes her figure. After imagining chasing her to the ends of the earth just to get something, Karen describes her legs as fat and graceless, but Kimito gets scared and tells her never to belittle herself in that way. Additionally, he reveals that he really likes her legs, and even if the world turns against him, he will continue to say he loves what he sees. Karen looks at him surprised, but Kimito tells her to always let him see her wearing the outfit. Hearing this, Karen cries, thinking that he could be attracted to her. However, her internal demons come out to play and she flees the scene. Later at night, while Aika enjoys her first experience of text messaging, she tells Reiko that she knows she is being a nuisance, especially being paired in the same room with her. In response, Reiko says that is not true, but Aika points out that two enemies trapped in a room is a recipe for disaster, and it would be a relief when the trip was over. Hearing this, Reiko gives up and reciprocates the bad energy. Shortly after this, Aika asks Reiko for help with a broadcast message she is trying to send to the other ladies. When Reiko says she should talk to Kimito about this and not her, Aika hints that it is an important text she needs to see. To get Reiko's attention, Aika says it is the reason why she has been avoiding everyone. Hearing this, Reiko asks why Aika wants her to see it, and Aika explains that since she is the most popular girl in the class, she seems to be quite good with people management. Impressed by her comments, Reiko takes the phone, and when she checks the text, she comments that it is too long. After suggesting some changes so the text looks better, Aika gets exhausted making adjustments. When she shows it to Reiko, she reads it and realizes that Aika has a tendency to speak bluntly. In doing so, she has hurt her friends in the past, so she decides to avoid repeating that again by staying away from people. After reading Aika's desire to be friends with everyone, Reiko points out that she is already friends with them and encourages her to send the text. The next morning, Kimito wakes up and finds Miyuki wishing he had not woken up. While he wonders how she does her job despite hating it, Miyuki says that being a professional in her job makes her feel proud. Surprised, Kimito asks her if she can hear his thoughts, and she says his thoughts are easy to read since he only has 5 neurons. Afterward, during breakfast, Kimito sees some ladies inviting Aika to a tea party. When they return to school moments later, he approaches Aika and congratulates her for achieving her goal. However, when Aika thanks him for helping her, Kimito points out that it is over for the Commoner Club since she only created it to become popular, and she will be busy with tea parties as well as other club activities. While Aika thinks about this, the elevators arrive and they separate. A few minutes after this, while Kimito relaxes in an outdoor bath, Aika arrives and is surprised to find someone there. Seeing each other, both get scared, and Kimito asks her why she is there if the ladies had their moment the day before. In response, Aika says they decided to visit the bath again. At that moment, other girls arrive and find Aika alone in the bath. Meanwhile, Kimito keeps his head submerged to remain out of sight. Then the girls get into the pool while Kimito wonders how long he can stay there. When he runs out of air, Kimito returns to the surface to take some air, but Aika covers him with her body and tells the ladies that she feels fine. Meanwhile, under the water, Kimito marvels at how soft Aika's body feels. At that moment, the ladies talk about how close Aika has become with Kimito, but she responds that nothing interesting is happening. At that moment, Kimito feels he is drowning and tries to reach for something, but he grabs onto one of the ladies. Thinking she is another lady, the girl kicks Kimito in the face while he slowly faints. After this, when the girls leave the bath, Aika says she will catch up with them. After they leave, she pulls Kimito out and finds him unconscious. Then, she hastily tries to resuscitate him by mouth-to-mouth breathing. While she does this, some of the girls return to see what is taking so long and get scared upon seeing the scene. The next morning, Kimito wakes up and finds Miyuki staring at him, so he wonders if he fainted in the bath. At that moment, Miyuki informs him that he only has 20 minutes to get ready and go out. When he goes out, Kimito observes the ladies acting in a strange way and approaches Aika to ask what it is about. In response, Aika reveals that there are rumors that something exists between them. Surprised, Kimito asks how that happened, but Karen appears to interrupt them. Then she calls Kimito a liar and sends him flying with her strength. Later at school, while a girl runs in the courtyard, her towel falls and Miyuki calls her to hand her a new one. When she offers to wash the stained one, the girl asks why she works as a maid despite being from a family of good reputation. In response, Miyuki says it is not her business and walks away. Upon arriving at Kimito's room, she kisses him, and when he wakes up, she says she wishes he had not woken up. Some days later, Aika gets scared by fortune-telling and asks Kimito how it works. He then tells her that it can be done on a smartphone. Interested, Aika asks him to show her. Then he opens a fortune-telling application, and the virtual fortune-teller reveals that Aika has no filter in what she says and hurts people while talking. After the fortune-teller advises her to be considerate of others, Aika remains impressed by the accuracy of the fortune-telling application. At that moment, Kimito comments that the application also shows her lucky color. Curious, Aika looks and shortly after appears all dressed in green. Surprised, Kimito asks her what she is doing, and she explains that she will have luck if she surrounds herself with green. Hearing this, Kimito suggests that she cover her entire body with the color. Then, Aika gets a green mask and some green plants for her hands. Seeing this, Kimito suggests that she dance and scream while doing so. Confused, Aika asks why, and he reveals that doing the dance brings good luck among common people. Then Aika starts dancing while Kimito encourages her to continue. However, the classroom door opens, and Reiko, Hakua, and Karen look at her as if she were an alien and wonder who she is. Afterward, in Kimito's room, they try the fortune-telling application on Reiko, and it reveals that due to her excellent powers of observation and analysis, she will be a successful manager. When the fortune-teller adds that she is in an untiring search for romance, Reiko comments that it is accurate. At this point, Kimito suggests they try it on Hakua, and when they did, the fortune-teller reveals that she maintains a balance between conflicting natures and is the most suitable to be the next genius. Although they make a big fuss about the application, Karen does not agree and says she will not be trapped in ridicule with them. When Kimito asks her if she would like to try it too, Karen says she would only like to discover her value as a warrior. However, the application reveals that Karen feels very lonely and is a clueless person who enters into panic and fails in tasks. However, on the positive side, the application adds that her smile makes her easily forgivable and she has no idea when it comes to romance. Furious, Karen says that cannot be true, but Kimito disagrees and says it is. Karen then grabs the phone, hoping to obtain different results when she tries it herself, but discovers a compatibility test. And since all the girls were interested in that, Reiko suggests that everyone do the test of their compatibility with Kimito. While he wonders why no one protests against it, he believes that will serve as their club activity for the day. After this, they decide to go in alphabetical order and begin with Aika. Upon performing the test, the application reveals that she is compatible with Kimito with a score of 80. When the fortune teller comments that they would make a fantastic couple, Aika gets nervous, gets excited, and has a tantrum. However, when she calms down, she says she only got excited because her lucky color worked. Eager, Reiko asks Kimito to check her next, and when he does, the application reveals that Reiko and Kimito are fit to marry with a score of 90. Hearing this, Aika shrinks while Reiko gets excited for having caught the only man in her world. When Aika refuses to accept the value, Reiko reminds her of her score while Kimito asks Hakua if she wants to try as well. When she accepts, Kimito performs the test, and the application reveals that the chemistry between Kimito and Hakua is neither good nor bad because she is a peculiar girl. To cheer her up, Kimito offers to prepare her tea, but Hakua refuses. In front of Karen, Kimito asks her if she also wants to do the test, and she accepts. After the test, the fortune teller reveals that Kimito would suffer if he were paired with Karen since their compatibility score is 0. Enraged, Karen draws her sword, scaring Kimito, who then asks her why she is angry. At this point, Karen relaxes and says one does not need to be a fortune teller to know they are incompatible. At that moment, Kimito points out that he made a mistake in entering his data, so he tries again. At that moment, the application reveals that Kimito and Karen are predestined partners with a score of 100. After the fortune teller explains how they are the ideal couple who could unite on a deep spiritual level, Reiko and Aika protest saying that the application is inaccurate. While they discuss which fortune is the most precise, Hakua says she is hungry. Then Kimito offers to make her some potato cakes and they leave. The next morning, Kimito wakes up with Miyuki's usual morning phrase and wonders if he is trapped in a loop. Kimito then asks her why she always looks at him waking up, but Miyuki says she does not have to answer his question. Afterward, she explains that as the maid assigned to him, it is her duty to wake him up, but as she hates the job, she has decided to watch him until he wakes up. In response, Kimito says she is not doing her job well, but Miyuki takes out her giant scissors to keep him in line. Scared to death, Kimito tells her to stop waking him up since he has the alarm of his phone on, but when Miyuki threatens to destroy his phone, he gets scared. Upon leaving, Miyuki tells him to get dressed and leaves his room. Later, while Kimito enjoys a wrestling match alone, Karen appears and suddenly remembers the advice of the fortune teller. Then, she performs a martial technique to impress Kimito. After this, she approaches him and announces that she is only good with swords. Lost, Kimito stares, wondering what that means. Then Karen shows her sword in his face and makes him admit that she is incredible. Suddenly, Karen sees a cut in Kimito's jacket and drags him to her room to mend it. Upon arriving at her room, Karen serves him a tea, and while she looks for her sewing kit, she accuses Kimito of looking with curiosity at her figure. Just as she finds the kit, she orders Kimito to turn around while she wonders if she is about to lose her mind. Shortly after, when he turns around, he finds Karen dressed in the tiny outfit that he had obtained for her on the trip. Impressed, Kimito takes it all in and praises her appearance. However, Karen says she does not use it for him. While fixing his shirt, Karen discovers Kimito looking at her, and when she asks him why, Kimito says he is thinking about what a good girlfriend she will be, which surprises her. After fixing his jacket, she tells him to also take off his shirt, but Kimito refuses. Angry, Karen takes the shirt off Kimito and then apologizes. At that moment, she examines his thin arm and wonders how he could dominate her despite her training. Just as Kimito praises her hard work, Aika, Hakua, and Reiko burst in looking for Kimito. Meanwhile, Kimito and Karen hide in her closet. Suddenly, Kimito sees her silhouette and gets scared, but his instinct takes over. Then he collides with Karen's figure, and they fall out of the closet. Surprised, the ladies ask what they are doing, and Kimito says it is a new type of future fortune telling. Later that night in Hakua's laboratory, while she has dinner, she looks at the food as if it were a piece of crayon and remembers the fortune teller's comment about her incompatibility with Kimito. At that moment, her maid arrives and asks her why she does not eat, but she gets scared when she sees a food artwork of Kimito on Karen's plate. Shortly after this, the maid tells the other maids and they get excited thinking that Hakua is finally becoming a young woman. One of the servants then suggests that they invite Kimito to the laboratory and that they take care of him so he learns about Hakua. However, one of them intervenes and says they cannot let Hakua find out, so they decide that Kimito should visit the laboratory. Naturally, later that day in Kimito's room, Aika asks him what a maid cafe is and explains that it is simply a cafe play with maids. Confused, Aika reminds him of his comment about commoners not having maids and asks him why they continue appearing in manga. Kimito then explains that the maids in manga are different from the maids in the school. Additionally, he reveals that maids are the people commoners most long for, and the girls wonder if they heard correctly. Reiko then asks him if he likes maids, and Kimito says he got excited when he saw so many maids in the school. Hearing this, Reiko suggests they do commoner maid cosplay while learning about maid cafes. Angrily, Aika tells her to stop trying to take control, but Reiko ignores this and decides to go prepare the cafeteria. After this in the cafeteria, the ladies dress as maids and welcome Kimito as their master. After getting a bit scared, Reiko returns to the character and decides to show him his table. When he sits down, she hands him the menu and tells him to make his order when it is ready. However, Aika points out that Reiko did not do the act well, but since everyone else thinks differently, she gets furious and asks Kimito what comes next. Then Kimito demonstrates a choreography that common maids perform after serving their guests. Seeing this, the girls look at him with wonder. Meanwhile, some maids saw everything that was happening and headed to Hakua's laboratory to inform the maid of Kimito's love for maids. Back in the cafeteria, Aika demonstrates what Kimito taught them and stops halfway feeling embarrassed. Shortly after this, during Karen's turn, Hakua disconnects and undresses, making Karen bleed from her nose onto the plate she served. After this, Kimito announces that the next activity in their maid training will be the singing and dancing course. Hearing this, Reiko says she loves to sing and decides to serenade them with her catastrophic voice. When she starts singing, the cafeteria shakes and everything starts to crumble. By coincidence, Hakua disconnects again, but Kimito rescues her quickly from being crushed by a falling lamp. At the same time, Aika tries to prevent Reiko from singing but could not before she hit a note that blows the window glass. Annoyed, Aika rants about how disastrous Reiko's voice is, but Reiko does not agree and asks Kimito for his review. At that moment, Hakua's undergarment falls on him, so he goes to dress her, but finds Karen bleeding from her nose. By coincidence, Sakamori appears and is surprised to discover the chaos that is occurring. A few moments later, while Kimito and his maids in training look like newly arrived convicts, the true maids clean up their mess. Later that day, while Kimito relaxes alone in the courtyard, Sakamori appears and he thanks her for helping him before. At that moment, she suggests he go see the maids in action, and Kimito accepts. When they arrive at Hakua's laboratory, the maid offers to show him the facilities. Then they arrive at Hakua's laboratory and find her working. After she gets distracted again and draws some equations, some maids enter the laboratory to take photographs of her drawings. At that moment, Sakamori announces that Kimito is nearby, so the maids leave and Hakua goes to greet him. When Sakamori suggests that Hakua give him a tour of the laboratory, Hakua grabs Kimito and takes him to her sandbox where she clears her mind. Shortly after, they start building sandcastles while the maids observe with wonder. When they have had enough, the maid appears again to announce that it is time for lunch and invites Kimito to join them. However, he refuses, but the maid insists, so everyone heads to the cafeteria together. When the food was served, the maid served Kimito and Hakua's food together, surprising Kimito, so he asks if they can be served separately. However, the maid says they only have one plate. Surprised, Kimito points to other plates, but suddenly another. Maid throws them all away. When Kimito points out that it was deliberate, Sakamori explains that work stress must have tested her mental health. At that moment, Kimito takes the only spoon and feeds Hakua with it, but when he asks for one more, the maid says they only have one. However, Kimito points to a dozen nearby spoons, but a maid collides with them while Sakamori apologizes on her behalf. Then Kimito and Hakua were forced to share a spoon and drink from the same cup while the maids enjoyed seeing them. Suddenly, Miyuki arrives, and the other maids behave, making Kimito wonder how powerful she is. Then she informs Sakamori of an urgent verification request from a company that was sent when no one paid attention to it. Shocked, the maids enter into a frenzy and disappear while Kimito waves to Hakua, but she ignores him and leaves. Later, Kimito apologizes to Sakamori for staying too long and for making Miyuki get angry, but Sakamori tells him not to worry and invites him to visit the place again. Afterward, the maids organize a small party for having successfully executed their plans. Meanwhile, Kimito's friends could not sleep, so they practiced what he taught them in the cafeteria. A few days later, Aika visits Kimito's room and finds him sitting quietly. Surprised, she asks him if he needs anything and wonders why he says it would be better if it were just the two of them. Kimito then responds, saying he only has business with her and hints that is why he canceled all club activities for that day. Kimito then asks her why she is nervous and adds that they have become quite good friends, so she no longer needs to be nervous. Then he sits on his bed and invites her to join him. After this, Kimito hands her a gift, surprising Aika. Then she asks him why and he responds that he only wants to give it to her. When she opens the gift, Aika finds a yellow suit. Then Kimito explains that since she always tells him to make her popular, he has decided to make her dreams come true. Then he says she can become popular by wearing the suit and using the slogan "Gets." Confused, Aika asks what the slogan means and Kimito explains that it is a greeting among friends that became popular among common people. Hearing this, Aika asks if it is one of his tricks again, but Kimito shows her Dandy Sakano, the the inventor of the slogan. He then explains that it became popular thanks to that slogan. To interest her more, Kimito shows her the statistics of how popular it has become, and she gets scared when she realizes that her style has gone viral. Afterward, he makes a comment about Dandy being a comedian, and Aika asks him what that means. In response, Kimito says it is someone whose job is to make people laugh. Shortly after this, Aika gets dressed while Kimito congratulates her for looking like Dandy. At that moment, she tries the gets posture, but Kimito instructs her until she gets it. While she does several poses, Kimito takes photographs and demonstrates an advanced form of the poses. With Kimito's training and several tests by Aika, she perfects the movement and Kimito praises her. However, he wonders how he will tell Aika the truth and imagines receiving a hit towards the afterlife. But before he can organize his thoughts, Aika runs out to show her new commoner skill. In an attempt to stop her, Kimito rushes out but collides with someone and suddenly finds himself identifying body parts in the darkness. While he feels her legs, Miyuki asks him what his intention is and he is startled. At that moment, it occurs to him that he must be under Miyuki's skirt. Then he gets up to free himself and exposes Miyuki's undergarments. For fear of losing his masculine identity, Kimito apologizes. Surprisingly, Miyuki does not fight but stops and asks why he gave Aika the suit. In response, Kimito says it is something typical of a commoner club, but Miyuki approaches him and tells him he is being driven by the most basic of his instincts. To make things worse, she accuses him of acting like a boy who wants to get the attention of a girl he likes. Hearing this, Kimito denies her accusations and states that he only likes muscular men. Relieved, Miyuki says goodbye. Meanwhile, while Reiko walks through the hallway, she sees Aika running in her outfit and asks her what it is for. In response, Aika says it is none of her business and leaves. Suddenly, Reiko gets interested and goes after Aika. When she reaches her, Reiko asks why she is wearing a strange outfit and Aika explains that it is an outfit used by a famous commoner comedian. Suddenly, she adopts the gets pose, leaving Reiko confused. Aika then explains that it is a form of greeting among friends that any commoner would know. Hearing this, Reiko asks if she learned that from Kimito and to annoy her. Aika confirms this and also reveals that he gave her the outfit as a gift. Hurt, Reiko bursts into tears and praises Aika's look in the outfit while expressing her envy. In response, Aika tries to comfort her by telling her she will tell Kimito to get one for her as well. Excited, Reiko thanks her and says she thought Aika had devised the greetings, but Aika disproves it and reveals that many people around the world do it. Surprised to hear this, Reiko tries the pose, but Aika decides to show her how it is done. Euphoric, Reiko comments that it feels very liberating and suggests they show the commoner's greeting to the others. Meanwhile, Kimito continues his search for Aika and enters a class where he finds all the ladies dressed in yellow suits. While he exclaims in shock, Reiko announces that they have taught the ladies how to do the gets greeting. At that moment, Reiko suggests they show Kimito what they have learned so far. Later that day, Reiko heads to Kimito's dormitory but stops at the door when she hears him on a call telling his friends that dealing with boys is much better than dealing with girls. When he says he misses the smell of boys and feels nostalgia for his home, Reiko hastily says goodbye. Shortly after, in a meeting with Aika, Karen, and Hakua, Reiko reveals everything. When Aika asks if that means he misses muscles, Reiko reveals that he said something like that. Then they decide to find a way to prevent that from happening. Suddenly, Aika suggests they become boys by giving themselves some forms of masculinity. Reiko then asks if she has a plan, but Aika stammers while Hakua suggests they act as Kimito does. When they agree on this, they exchange ideas about the common ways Kimito behaves and strive hard to imitate him. After learning to imitate him, Aika points out that men are always in shape and adds that Kimito loves muscles. Hearing this, the girls agree, and Reiko suggests they come up with a muscular strategy. Shortly after, the girls have a maid deliver a full-body suit to them, but as only one is left available, they fight over it and finally decide to play rock, paper, scissors to decide who wears it. When they play, Aika wins and gets excited to wear the suit. However, the other girls criticize her appearance and suggest adding some accessories to make her look more masculine. After this, Reiko remembers Kimito's comment about missing the smell of boys and wonders how they can get a manly scent. Hakua then suggests they try a seasoning with a meat aroma. Afterward, the band of misfits heads to Kimito's room and they present themselves as manly as possible. Irritated, Kimito asks why they smell of sauce and act in a strange way. Aika then says it is because he said he was going to leave the school. While Kimito wonders where they got that, Reiko reminds him of his comments about being surrounded by women. In response, Kimito tells them they look foolish and thanks them for the effort. After this, he assures them he will not leave. The next day, Kimito returns to the school and meets Reiko working on the blackboard. Surprised, he asks her what she is doing and she responds that it is a kind of volunteer service. Reiko then asks Kimito why he returned to the school and he explains that he forgot to pick up his pencil case. Hearing this, Reiko points out that it is strange since he is a meticulous guy. At that moment, the wind opens the curtain and they enjoy the view of the sunset together. After a while, Reiko asks how the sky looks in the city and Kimito says it is not as clear as the one at the school. When Reiko says she would like to see how it is, Kimito stays staring at her. Scared, Reiko asks why he is looking at her, but Kimito quickly reacts and states it is nothing. Then Reiko says it is impossible for her to see the city sky, and Kimito tells her to speak if she has something on her mind. Hearing this, Reiko gets excited and asks him if he still has difficulties with the floral arrangement class. In response, Kimito says he will probably fail miserably. Then, Reiko offers to give him an exclusively private session. Surprised, Kimito says that would be a great idea, and they set a date. In addition to this, Reiko requests that Kimito address her by her first name, but he is concerned that it is out of place. Then Reiko pleads with him and he decides to consider it. The next day, while the Commoner Club met in Kimito's room, Reiko reminded Kimito of his promise, making the other girls wonder what she was talking about. In front of Kimito, Reiko announces that it is a secret between her and him, but this enrages the other girls even more, so Karen threatens to turn Kimito into a headless wonder, but he stands firm like a true comrade. At that moment, Aika pounces on Reiko and tries to get the secret out of her, but does not succeed. Suddenly, some maids arrive and announce that Reiko's mother and brother are waiting for her in the office of the president. Surprised, Reiko asks if something is happening, but the maid says she has no idea. When Reiko apologizes, the maid adds that Kimito's attention is also needed, surprising him. In the office of the president, Reiko greets her mother and tells her how well she is being treated. At that moment, Hoko's gaze turns to Kimito, startling him while she asks his name. After this, Hoko says she is satisfied with a commoner sample, but Masomi, Reiko's brother, protests saying something could happen to Reiko. In front of Reiko, Masomi asks her if she is okay, and she assures him she has been treated kindly. When Masomi points out that Reiko is the cutest girl in the world, Kimito reacts to this. Masomi suddenly roars at him and tells him to keep his distance. Annoyed by this, Reiko tells Masomi to apologize or she will not talk to him. At this point, Miyuki intervenes, saying that Kimito cannot do any harm to the girls, since he does not like girls. To play along, Kimito grabs Masomi's shoulder, scaring the guy, who then takes his hand off. Masomi then says that Kimito's proximity is detrimental to Reiko's education. However, Hoko calls him to order and tells him he is being a nuisance. In front of Reiko, Hoko announces that they have concluded their marriage talks with a man from a good family and they are taking her home to marry. Surprised, Reiko looks at Kimito while Hoko says she is happy to have met him. After this, Kimito leaves the office feeling dejected. The next day, Aika explains that the school used to be a bride hunting place and adds that they are training them to be brides. Then she asks Kimito why he is depressed, and Kimito asks her if it seems okay to them that they are exhibited as brides for sale. After a brief silence, Kimito points out that it is not right that Reiko has been abruptly informed of a planned marriage while ignoring her wishes. Hearing this, the girls agree, and Aika asks him if he plans to stop the engagement. In response, Kimito says he is upset because Reiko shows herself reluctant to talk about the marriage. Later, while walking together, they run into Masomi, and Kimito explains that he is Reiko's brother. At that moment, Masomi yells at Kimito and tells him to delete his email, but Hoko appears and announces they are leaving. Afterward, Aika asks what they are doing in the club during the day, but Kimito says Reiko is the one who makes the decision. So in the following days, life continued normally without Reiko. But at one point, the girls talk about Reiko's absence, and Aika decides to call her. Hearing this, Karen reminds her that the phones only work within the school. Then Hakua does her thing and activates all the phones. Later that night, Aika calls Reiko and asks her if there is anything they can do since her family has made a decision. In response, Reiko asks what Kimito thinks, and Aika explains that he believes it is incorrect. When Aika asks Reiko what she plans to do, she reveals that she has no choice but to become like her mother. After this, Reiko reveals that she enjoyed every moment they spent discussing and promises to visit the school soon. Suddenly, Aika gets angry and says she is against Reiko's engagement. In response, Reiko says through tears that she does not want to leave the school. The next day, while Aika behaves in a strange way, Kimito asks her if something is wrong, and she reveals that Reiko does not want to leave the school or her friends. At that moment, Hakua and Karen enter while Karen suggests they make a direct plea on Reiko's behalf. While exchanging ideas on how to do it, Kimito says Masomi tried to give him his email because he is also against the engagement. Although he regrets not having received the email, Hakua announces she has it and shows them a text message from Masomi telling them to find him in his car. Later that night, Kimito and his brigade of girls try to sneak out of the school but are caught by Miyuki. However, when she asks why they are doing it, Kimito says it is because Reiko is a member of the club. Then she lets them go and they get into Masomi's car. During the attempt to break the engagement, Kimito asks why Masomi decided to help them, and he says he cannot alter the engagement since it is part of the family. After this, he announces that Reiko's fate now depends on them. Shortly after, they stop the car at a certain distance from Reiko's family house, and Masomi checks the security equipment with his binoculars. After this, he hands the binoculars to Kimito so he can check and realize that the building is guarded. When Kimito asks Masomi about the plan, Masomi explains that he will distract the security while Kimito enters. Hearing this, Kimito says it is a suicide mission, but Karen says it could be useful to work with them since they handle wooden swords. Suddenly, Karen draws her sword and runs towards the guards. Immediately, she approaches them, introduces herself, and launches an attack that that causes an earthquake and eliminates the guards. While she wonders where the guards went, Karen activates her flaming sword and launches an explosive attack that knocks down the mansion's walls. However, when they try to enter, more guards appear, so Karen tells her friends to leave while she takes care of them. Suddenly, Karen summons a lightning attack that takes the clothes off the guards while her friends head towards the mansion. At that moment, they are stopped by Takamiya, the head of the guard, who then tries to convince Masomi to withdraw. Annoyed, Masomi refuses and tries to attack Takamiya. Shortly after, they enter into a heated fight while Kimito and his friends sneak into the building. While they try to find their way, they are stopped by some security drones. Then Aika breaks a vase and throws its pieces at the drones. Immediately, her target shot knocks down the drone fleet and they rush to continue their search. However, some armored doors lower and try to stop them, but they receive help from a pair of muscular men. At that moment, they head to the control room where Hakua does her thing and deactivates the security protocol. Shortly after, they run into a giant robot that tries to crush them, but Karen suddenly appears to rescue them. While they dodge the robot's attack, Karen jumps over it and executes an attack, turning off the robot. However, the attack causes her outfit to disappear, so Kimito throws his jacket over her. A few moments later, Hakua reprograms some of the fallen drones and uses them to quickly transport Kimito to the room where the engagement is taking place. Upon entering the room, Kimito tries to catch his breath while Hakua introduces him as a friend of Reiko from the school. Then she thanks him for his concern for Reiko and announces that they are busy, but she will dedicate time to him later. However, Kimito raises his voice and says he is against the marriage. When Hakua asks why, Kimito reveals that Reiko resists going forward with that, but Hakua explains that Reiko understands how important the commitment is for the family. However, Kimito insists that the marriage is not what Reiko wants, but Hakui says it does not matter since she is fully aware of her duty to deny herself for the sake of the family. Additionally, Hakua adds that she does not expect him to understand since he is just a commoner. After an uncomfortable silence, Kimito explains that during the time he has spent with the ladies, everyone has bonded and become friends. Because of this, Kimito reveals how painful it was to ruin their bond by separating them from Reiko. Ignoring his complaints, Hakua says Reiko has accepted her fate, but Aika suddenly takes a step forward and says that is not true. Additionally, she explains that she has learned from her friends the importance of doing what she wants to do, and through tears, asks that they wait until Reiko accepts the situation. Just when they make a bow to advocate on behalf of Reiko, Masami joins them and bows as well. However, when Hakua decides to kick them out of the room, Reiko gets up and announces she is leaving the family. Surprised, Hakua explains that doing that will deny her all the benefits of having been born into a prestigious family. When she tells Reiko she will become a vagabond on the streets, Kimito offers to take her to his house and talk to his parents on her behalf. After Kimito promises to do everything possible to make her happy, Reiko takes his hands and accepts his proposal. In front of her parents, Reiko bows to thank them for everything they have done for her. Seeing this, Reiko's father gives his approval, and the in-laws announce that their son has decided to return to school. After leaving, Huko laughs hysterically and announces that Reiko can marry whoever she pleases. Excited, Reiko thanks her mother while Hoko asks Kimito to take care of her forever, surprising Kimito. Hoko then says they will marry since he just proposed to her. Suddenly, Kimito realizes his mistake and wishes he could amend it. Meanwhile, Reiko gets excited about meeting Kimito's parents. To get out of the trouble, Kimito reminds them that he is only a commoner, but Hoko tells him she would be delighted to have him as a son-in-law so she can torment him at will. While Kimito gets restless hearing this, Aika and Karen protest against their pairing. However, when Hoko says it is already decided, Masami attacks Kimito, but he dodges him to save his life. Suddenly, Masami charges against him while stating he will not let a deviant like Kimito have his sister. Later at school, Kimito apologizes for deceiving her through his proposal, but Reiko tells him to lift his head and says it is her fault for jumping to conclusions. In addition to this, when Reiko talks about how embarrassed she and Hoko feel about it, Kimito blames himself for being too direct with Reiko. However, Reiko approaches him and states that it is not true. After an uncomfortable silence, the other members of the Commoner Club enter, ruining the moment. Aika then asks why they are alone behind closed doors, and Kimito points out that there is nothing wrong with doing that. Then Aika announces they have a club meeting, and when everyone sits down, Reiko asks if Kimito really plans to take her in if she repudiates her family. Kimito then says yes, and Reiko says maybe she has to run away from home. Enraged by this, Aika decides to make him see reason, but Reiko says it is none of her business. However, Aika takes it seriously and blames Reiko for causing the commotion at her parents' house. Angry, Reiko denies having caused the commotion and a fight ensues. But the story goes this far, and if you want to know what happens next, would you like me to continue with the following parts?